Alright, there we go. Hello everybody, welcome to Getting Into Character and Cosplay, Improv and Cosplay. We got a bunch of people that are still coming in, so we'll wait till everybody gets seated. How you guys doing today? Great energy, great energy. How's everybody doing? I'm okay, I guess. If you're hungover, that's an appropriate response, otherwise. I know, it's hot, it's ridiculous. I'm wearing a turtleneck and a suit. This is stupid cosplay for 80, 90 degree weather that we're having right now, but it'll be good. Is that everybody out there? We got everyone in?
Seems to be.
Cool.
Go and shut.
You can leave it open. That should be fine. Cool. So, my name is Ben, also known as the Phoenix. If you've been to a lot of other Texas cons, chances are you've seen me, specifically at A-Fest. We do a lot of emceeing for the walk-ons. We run a lot of cosplay improv events. I do a lot of character cosplay, and this is one of the panels that we like bringing around because there's always that big difference between, did you see the person dressed as this, and oh my god, did you see this thing is here? You know, you get people that can see the difference because the character can make or break a lot of cosplays, especially if the character is the most prominent thing about them. I mean, it's kind of disappointing because you see a lot of people that don't really work on the character, and that's, I'd argue, just as important as the craftsmanship a lot of times if you're doing cosplay. And what's great is some characters give you so many details that it's simple to follow. Others give you so much room to work with that you can do whatever you want with it and still be technically in character. To give you a good example, Death Note. Fans of Death Note? Obviously, but okay. So, if you would be in the corner just like brooding and things like that, that would be more in character than, say, the person that I saw earlier wearing the same kind of cosplay, skipping around. Doesn't really work. Now, it can be funny if it's done in an ironic sense, but we had somebody that was just like, their character was supposed to be always angry, always violent, and they're just like, oh my god, you look so amazing, I love this! And it completely takes away from the character. So, what we're going to do is we're going to start off. Come on in, take a seat. Hi, welcome. This man knows how to dress. Look at that.
Say that shit.
So, what we're going to do is we're going to start off teaching you how to get into character, when to know, when it's appropriate, when it's not appropriate, how to do things like vocalization, your tonage, how to, I'll even teach you how to do a little bit of voice work, and then again we'll get into improvisation and cosplay. Has anybody here ever been to, or even better, participated in anything like Cosplay Chess, the anime dating game, anything like that? You have. Anybody else?
I've taken pictures of it.
Well, you've taken pictures, and we appreciate that. Thank you. If you're planning on going to any of these events, that is a great thing to have, is the ability to improvise in your character. Mostly because it's kind of like a person's personal Disneyland when they come here. They can see a character, and they don't want just, it would be like walking up to Belle, and Belle just be like, all right, what do you want? Kid wants a picture? Fine, whatever, come here. It's really big to have the character match. One of the cosplays that I do specifically is the Joker. I do classic, I don't do Dark Knight. But it took me about 6 months of dedicated practice to get the voice down, the inflection, and everything. And the great thing is when you start working on character work, when you have the character down, it's that easy to switch into character and be in character. And it's just a matter of learning. You learn how to be a character the same way that you learn how to be who you are today. It's the reason that, children grow up listening to the language that spoke around them, the dialect that spoke around them, and can pick up on that and start mimicking it. We don't really learn the language as much as we're mimicking the sounds that we hear until we figure out, oh, we're actually doing things that are appropriate. We're saying the right words. So one of the things that I highly recommend is, first and foremost, when you're getting into a character, learn and know your character. If you don't know your character, it will show tremendously. Now, most times you get cosplayers that know what they're doing. They know how to work, they know exactly what makes their characters tick, what they like, what they don't like, things along those lines. But at the same time, there have been many times where people do a cosplay simply because it seems like it's a challenge, or somebody's roped them into it, things along those lines. And they may kind of match up, but not really. I'm pretty sure most people that have gone to a couple cons have seen that. where somebody may be in costume, but the character is completely gone. So know your character, and it will help you get into it so much easier. One of the best ways to do that is to, again, learn through mimicry. Study your character. Figure out what is it that they like, what is it that they don't like, how would they respond to certain situations. You will actually get to a point, and if you live with other people, warn them before you do this, but you will get to a point that you will actually be able to practice being in character. My wife hates this, because anytime I do a new cosplay for about 2 weeks, I get into character. She goes, "Can I just have my husband back, please?" Yeah, no, I'm Cave Johnson, damn it. You get into the character, you start learning it, you start listening to it, and some of them can be a little bit more difficult. Some are very simple, because many characters that people cosplay are very human. They're not too far away from basic human nature. So really all it is understanding responses, understanding what they would do in a situation. And again, that goes back to, most either have too much detail or not enough, and that's perfectly fine. If there's a character that you're doing that has a great build-up, and you know exactly how they are, learn how they talk. If their response would normally be something where they're very dismissive towards people. If somebody comes up and goes, "Oh my God, you're this person, can I get a picture?" "Yeah, whatever, just get in here." And it's perfectly fine to do that, because that's the kind of response they would give. If there's somebody that would give a dismissive response, and somebody comes up and goes, "Can I get a picture?" Sure. It's okay to be dismissive. It's okay to be in character, and that really does add to the enjoyment of it. So learn their responses. Are they angry? Are they sad? Are they very overly emotional? And
chocolate?
Huh?
Got any chocolate?
No, not anymore. Earlier I did, and now I'm not giving you any anyway. Yeah, learn their emotions, their emotional palette. What creates that character and what makes them who they are, and try to mimic that. One of the best things that I can suggest is if it's something that's voiced, it's not something like Homestuck where there's no voicing or anything like that, it's all images. Then listen to the way they talk, listen to what they say, listen to how they say it, listen to the things that people say and how they respond to it. And you'll start getting into that mindset. And what you'll do is you'll basically turn yourself off, your own personality off, and be able to turn on this alternate personality. It's almost like schizophrenia, only you're purposely doing it to yourself. And you can turn it off without the need of medication for the most part. Yeah, again, if you start learning, hi, welcome, come on in, take a seat. If you start learning the emotions, you can respond. For instance, again, doing the Joker, very, very big on taking nothing serious, but at the same time, if things go wrong, gets very angry and kind of mean. So it's perfectly fine for me to have somebody come up and go, "I like Dark Knight Joker better." "Well, I wonder why he's dead." And it's fine. He would be mean and really rude, and that's okay. And you'll start picking up on it. You'll start learning it. If you want to pick up an accent, I know a bunch of people that are Americans that do Doctor Who stuff. And David Tennant that sounds very American, if not redneck, considering the state we live in, really throws it off. Because when you have a David Tennant that says, "I'm a Time Lord." Oh, no honey, you need to work on that. So start listening to the dialect. And if you listen to it, again, just like a child learns a new language and the dialect that they speak, you'll start picking up on that. Specifically for the Joker, and
I missed it on the first try to turn it off.
Better you than me.
Got dined out. That's awesome. With Joker specifically, and other ones that I've done, like J. Jonah Jameson or Cave Johnson, because they're the same voice actor and pretty much the same personality. I went on to YouTube and I just found like the best of clips of their character and just listened to that. Like I'd have it on in the background and listen to it on repeat. And you'll start hearing very obvious things, very obvious tonage, and you can start mimicking it. You can start, you'll get so ingrained with that in your mind that you'll be able to start responding in the same way. So you'll start getting used to the sound of their voice, how they talk, what tones they use in different ways, and it really will help you build into that character. Not only, again, for the wording that they would choose to use, but tone, inflection, all of that. And that really can help you build into a character. Now, if the character doesn't have something like that, it's a little bit more open to however you want to do it. Specifically, if there's a character that only exists on a video game that may have no voice acting whatsoever. One of my favorites that I've seen with this is Cloud from Final Fantasy VII. Granted, he's more brooding and emo and all those things, and you can be that character. But the person that I saw that was doing Cloud did this really deep, had been smoking cigarettes since he was 4 years old kind of voice. This is why I never talked. This kind of voice it throws people off, and it's perfectly fine to do that because the voice didn't exist, so you can fill in the blanks. And it was so opposite side of the spectrum that it was actually kind of humorous. It made it his own character. With that, just you have so much more freedom to do what you want to do with it, and you can take these little nuggets of information and use that to help fill in the blanks, and then it just ends up being like a personality Mad Lib at that point where you have more freedom. So again, just make sure that you're understanding of the character, you learn the character, you're listening to them over and over again, and you'll start picking up on different things. Now, with many characters, voice is a key component. There have been people that I've seen that are phenomenal cosplayers, but the voice is gone, and it may be something completely different than what you expect. And for that, to be able to work the voice, it's something that can take some people days, it's something that can take some people months. If you work at it, you can get there. It's not just something that you're going to be able to easily fall into. But the more you work on it, the easier it gets to branch out. For instance, it took me about 6 months to get the Joker voice down. But with that knowledge, I was able to move into other voices much easier. And you start learning where to speak, not only in your mouth, but in your throat, where your tongue placement should be, how nasally you are, how much air you breathe out as you're talking. I mean, it sounds like a lot, but you'll get to a point that it will all make sense, and you'll go, okay, if I change this should sound different. For instance, Joker's always very bright and happy and very, very high-pitched with the way he does things. But if you add a little bit of an angry tone into it, you can then go down a little deeper. There's many characters that have this voice. Or you can do, freeze off of this or anything along those lines. You can basically add elements or take elements away and work that. One of the other ones that I picked up on after Joker was, if you speak through the top of your mouth, and again, you'll start figuring out how to do this because if you practice it and again, warn people, because otherwise it sounds like you're just talking to yourself in voices, and there's a good chance, it's not really that great of a thing if people don't know what you're doing. To put it this way, this isn't me telling a person this, but I scared my dog when we were in. I was driving the dog to the vet, and I was practicing the Joker laugh. And the car is the best place to practice. If you have a car and you have the ability to either get MP3s or record it onto a CD and listen to it that way, because you can be as loud as you want in a car as long as other people aren't with you, and really get to project and be in character. If there are people at home that are just like, stop making voices, then it's a lot easier if you can drive out and practice this on your way to work, on your way to school, wherever you're going. But practicing the Joker laugh, I had 20 minutes of Mark Hamill doing the Joker laugh, and I started practicing these laughs, And after about 5 minutes into one of the trips, my dog, I looked over and I heard my dog whimpering. My dog peed from being too afraid of the fact that I'm laughing as loud as I am. And I was just like, oh God, I can't be mad at you because I feel like it's my fault, but you should have expected this by now, dog. But like I said, it's very easy to start listening to it. You'll hear and pick up on those things. And the different dialects. British people talk more top of their mouth. Their tongues tend to be a little higher. It's easier to get into that dialect. And you start hearing what letters are spoken and what ones aren't. British people do drop some of their letters. So when you're listening, that's why it was never the Beatles, it was the Beatles. There's no T in Beatles, but that's how they pronounce it. That's the way that it was. And you can pick up on what they drop, what they say, how they say it, and go from there. And dialect, tone, all of that will all come from just practicing and getting used to it. And there are times that I found voices that can be done that completely have nothing to do with what I've been practicing. But you can start working and build your palette from there to a point that it gets easier. Specifically, I did a voiceover as a psychotic version of Elmo. Well, Elmo's fun to do. I'm sorry, that was a bad way to get. Elmo's. Wow. My throat's kind of dry for that one. Oh well, I've done Elmo. I'm not gonna sit and try to force my throat if it doesn't want to do it right now. But from that, I learned if I take away that whoa noise, then you can do Gigi from Shrek, and the only thing you'll ever be the king of is the king of the stupids, and you can have, and you'll learn how to force voice, and you'll learn how to make those raspy sounds, and figure out how to do that. And then I took that voice and went, well, what happens if I make it more airy? What happens if I don't speak as heavily with the, I don't push as much with vocal tone, but use a lot more air and a little bit more air go out. And it ends up being Herbert the pervert from Family Guy. My wife hates that voice specifically. But all that came from, I did Elmo, and then I realized, well, I can bring it back a little bit, and was able to pull that. Then it went to Herbert the pervert, and I don't know how Elmo goes to Gingerbread Man goes to an old guy pervert, but it'll work. And yeah, I can see a connection too. I don't want to make a connection, but I can see one. But you'll start figuring out, and all of that is one thing changes: my tongue positioning. I go from, two things change. My tongue positioning and where I'm speaking from. Speaking from the back of your throat, it's a little bit more strained, so you can do a little bit more strained voice if you're doing something like Stitch from Disney's Lilo and Stitch. He's more from the back of the throat. And you can figure out, okay, if I'm speaking from back here, it's a lot more strained. If you're speaking more from the front, you can do different things along those lines. Even the sides of your mouth. If you speak from the sides of your mouth, you can do some funny things with that. Which is funny because I know there are a couple people at this con that can talk like that without having to do voice work. But what's the shower? I don't understand. Bathing? This is not what I do. Shut up. It's not. Hey, but am I wrong? But no. I mean, again, you'll figure out where you can talk through, how you can talk, and it really will help you build into the voice of your character. If you want to talk higher, your neck normally goes up. You'll talk because you're getting more air through. If you want to talk deeper, you probably will drop your chin a little bit more. Joke is more up high, and J. Jonah Jameson with his pictures of Spider-Man, it's down lower, and that's how you can get those different voices. Is even head positioning, and you'll get used to it. It's one of those things that there's so many details involved, but once you start getting it, it's second nature. So if you really want to work on doing more character cosplays and really getting into character, that's one of the first things that I try to stress to people. Hi, come on in. That's one of the first things that I try to stress to people to work on, is that vocal inflection. Because if you can get into the voice of the character, you will it's actually easier to get into the personality. Because then you start hearing it and you can match up easier, and you're psychologically matching the voice to the character. So it tends to be a lot easier to get into that personality. Now, beyond just vocal tones and and how to speak, learn their verbiage. If they're not very intelligent, big words shouldn't be used. If there's somebody that's very dismissive, you can be dismissive. If there's somebody that's very happy and normally like overjoyed about things, go for it. My wife does Fluttershy. People come up and they're like, I love your Fluttershy. And she goes, oh, thank you. And like is very shy about it. Perfectly in character. You know, that's something that you want to focus on, is don't be outside of your character unless it's funny in an ironic sense to be out of your character. If you're always out of your character, then it's somebody who's dressed in a costume, which is perfectly fine. But if you want to go for that character aspect, learn the character and learn I'm sorry, now it's my turn. Learn the character, learn the things that are being said and how they say them. I keep picking this up and I'm not drinking it. So that'll definitely be another thing that you'll pick up just by listening. You'll start hearing phrases, you'll start hearing specific words, ways they say specific words. And again, focus on the interactions that they have with other people. Look at situations and go, under stress, how do these people react? When people come up to them and talk to them, are they respectful? Are they dismissive? Are they rude? Are they happy? Are they shy? How are they character-wise? How are they personality-wise in that aspect? And start focusing on that. And that's one of the biggest reasons why I say if you learn the voice and you start working on that first, it's so much easier to get into the character because the voice tends to portray the personality above anything else. You're not going to have somebody who's normally a very calm person that talks like this. It doesn't happen. The voice very much so matches the personality. So those two things are big things to focus on. Another thing is emotions, physicality, body language. If there's, again, doing Joker, he doesn't really, he tolerates Harley Quinn, but there are days that she annoys the hell out of him. So whenever Harley Quinn sees me in Joker and runs up, and just, I act like I'm not really pleased to see her. That's the body language really shows that. Most of the pictures that there's a Harley with me, I'm like pushing their head away, and I don't want them near me, and they're trying to get closer, and that's perfectly fine. That's the body language. The Harley really badly wants to be near Joker. Joker really doesn't want to have anything to do with it. So it's again, that's that body language and the give and take with that. So learn the way that they respond in that way. If they're very defensive or easily frightened with things, if somebody shouts your name and you're easily frightened, it's okay, to freak out or something along those lines. If they're very pompous, if somebody says your name, yes, who called? You have every opportunity to respond in the same exact way. So personality and body language. I mean, again, if you just have somebody go, hey, oh my God, it's you, and you just go, well, yes, it's me. It's one thing, but if you go, well, hello, like you can do the posing and the pompous, arrogant stances, and that really will match your character. So watch them, study them. It's kind of weird because you will almost become obsessed with them to a point that, again, it draws a fine line between either schizophrenia or stalking, and actually just getting into a character. And it's really a lot of method acting and performing along those lines. So again, learn the way that you speak, learn the way that the personality is, and practice it. It is a lot of practice. I argue, and I know that a lot of people tell me I'm wrong on this, but I've also had a lot of people, like especially voice actors, that have agreed with me on this. The character, bring it up. Oh, it's your mom. Here, bring it up to me. I'll talk to her. Bring it up to me. If she calls back, I want to talk to your mom. Hello, how are you? You want to see your daughter again? Too bad. There's, again, many characters are very dynamic, and one of the biggest reasons you want to try to focus on them is because most people don't look at a character and go, I like them because they're costume. There's some instances, and that's fine. But there's no reason that I would look at a character like Cave Johnson and go, I just like him because he wears a brown turtleneck and a suit.
You don't know fangirls.
No, I do. I don't want to talk about fangirls. That's a completely different panel that I'm avoiding entirely because there were yaoi paddles outside and I don't want to go near them. Don't guess that. No, those need to be broken over people's heads.
Yes.
I hate you all. Anyway, but again, if the character is a big thing that drives you to them, studying to a point of, like I said, stalking or going schizophrenic with it is fine. Now, there are very well-respected rules to being in character in cosplay, though. Specifically, if somebody comes up and addresses you as you and not your character, it's fine to drop the character. This better be important. Okay. Cool. All that's left. If my mom calls, you can talk to her. There's a lot of very well-respected rules that threw me off. There's a lot of very well-respected rules about being in character. Not being in character all the time is okay. It's fine. If people come up to you and address you as you, like I have people that come up and go, hey, you're Phoenix, right? Yeah. You can drop the character and it's okay. If people come up to you and go, hey, and name you as your character, that's perfectly fine for you to turn around and be in character. Understand boundaries. I've had times where I was the Joker and a kid came up to me and they're like, hey, it's the Joker, and I got in character and they started crying. And I immediately had to drop the character and go, no honey, I'm not really the Joker, I promise. I'm not gonna kill your parents like I did to Batman. Are your parents rich? You could be the next Batman. We can get that going for you. It's almost become like a mandatory thing that anytime I've done Joker, I've had pictures of me holding a crying kid. And I don't know why these parents are just like, no, I know he's crying, but he loves it. Okay. But that's a point where it's perfectly fine to not be in character because children get terrified of clowns very easily. Again, it's okay to drop character at those points. If you're relaxing, you don't have to be in character at all times. It's okay to be in character and walk up to other people that are in character that you know, or even if you don't know them, but there are other people in character or in the same cosplays. It's okay to walk up and go, in character, hey, whatever, and you can do that, and it's fine. It's some people may just look at you weird. I've had some instances where I walk up to people and say something in character that their character should know. If they know their character well enough, and I just get blank stares. And then like, well, do I know you? All right, never mind. And it'll happen. There will be times that being in character will fall flat. It's okay. Just don't be that person that can't turn the character off. That is one of the most difficult things for some people, but it'll be something where as easy as it is to turn on the character, you can turn it off. It's fine to wander around the con and be in character and have fun with that. But if you're being annoying, stop it. Yeah, you can point fingers all you want.
In character Navi?
Yeah. But see, that's funny. No, there was an in-character Navi at Anime Matsuri that was running around with the bell going, hey, listen! And it's like, everybody's, shut up! No! It was the greatest thing. And it was one of those things where it's like, okay, you're being annoying, but it's funny because your character is so damn annoying anyway. Normally you get the Navi that's just like, what's the difference between you and Tinkerbell? There's nothing different here. Then you get the Navis that won't shut up. Like the ones that's walking around with a, we've talked about doing this too. As a larger group, we're all going to do, like all the guys were going to do Link and all of our significant others were going to do Navis. And all of the Navis were going to be annoying as hell. Like run up to a booth and be like, look, watch out. And it was like going to be throwing stuff at us for us to buy for them. And it was meant to be something that annoyed the hell out of people, but it was supposed to be annoying because Navi is annoying as hell, and she's beloved because people hate her. So it's okay to do that, and that's something that's acceptable. But then if you're doing that, you walk up to somebody and you like ring the bell in their ears when they're in the middle of a very private conversation. If they turn around and punch you, it's your fault. So again, be mindful of the situations. If it's looking like something that calls for you to be able to go over and have fun with it, awesome. If there are people that are in character already and you can jump in and have fun with that, it's fine. And again, understand that sometimes it may fall flat. You have to walk away from it and be fine with it. I've had many times, I was at San Diego Comic-Con and I brought Joker, and there were times that I came up to people that were in costume but weren't really in character, and I was in character and made a hi. You're already really dressed for this, aren't you? Yes, indeed. Okay. Just a warning for newcomers, if your mom calls, give me the phone. Okay, so, again, understand the situation, understand what's going on. And it should be something that, if you're intelligent enough, it'll be second nature to realize, okay, I don't need to do this. But again, I walked up to a Judge Dredd. Anybody that has seen Judge Dredd knows the most famous line from that, I am the law. And I walked up to a Judge Dredd that was in costume but not really in character, that I thought was in character. And I went, are you the law? And he turns around and goes, no, what? You're not the law? No, are you looking for security? Okay, well, I'm going to mark this as a loss and just walk away. But again, it is something that will really, it can fall flat. It can be something that it's hit or miss sometimes. But you can save yourself a lot of trouble if you know when it's appropriate and when it's not. I have a lot of characters that berate a lot of people, and it's not typecasting, I swear. But my wife begs to differ, but it's not typecasting. But if you have a character that does that, it's okay to sometimes be in character and berate other people. Just understand that you need to make sure it's business and not personal. And have fun with it. In the end, cosplay is meant to be fun. Cosplay is basically built up of costume role play. So getting into the role is a big part of it. But if you're being annoying, or if you're doing it at the wrong times, or you're not really responding properly, it can so much just take you out of that situation in many different ways. So focus on that, focus on when it's appropriate. If a situation just doesn't feel like the right time for it, walk away from it. If you jump into a situation and it suddenly starts feeling very awkward, walk away from it. And in many different situations, like the dating games or cosplay chess, which we'll talk about a little later on, being in character for the entirety of it is perfectly fine. Those are the things that really being in character counts. And it'll even help you with the cosplay contest. I've seen people that walk up there that are meant to be these very cocky, very happy, very energetic people, and they just walk up and just... And that's all you get from them. There's no energy, there's no character. They're showing off the costume, and that's fine. But if you really can bring the character into it, it adds so much of a different level. It goes so much deeper than just what you're wearing. And that's something that you can tell the people that are really in character versus the ones that aren't when they go up to a cosplay contest. The people that are really in character will shine. Even if the cosplay isn't that good, the people that know the character and will move beyond just being dressed up as something are the people that will stand out a lot more. The judges tend to notice them a lot more. And even if you don't, I've seen so many people that are great in character that don't have costumes that would win any sort of craftsmanship award. Is that your mom?
It's a message.
Oh, okay. Fair enough. I can message her back as Joker if you want me to.
What would you do if someone's dad called?
I'll talk to their dad.
That's not their mom.
well, we'll make an exception for that.
These days you can't be sure.
Yeah, really. But yeah, I mean, again, a lot of those characters, like I've specifically, like a lot of my costumes aren't very detailed. They're not things that would win craftsmanship awards or best in shows in any way, shape, or form. But I've walked home with so many judges awards or best in character specifically because the character matters so much to these people, and it brings them back to a point of nostalgia. You know, if you get a Sailor Moon that just really isn't there, that's one thing. But having a Sailor Moon that's whiny and just complains all the time. There was a Sailor Moon that was walking around with a backpack full of food, and every 5 minutes was just sitting there eating it, and like it was over, and the judges kept looking over at her off to the side of the contest, and she's stuffing her face, and it was the funniest thing because they get up there, and one of the people just looks over at Sailor Moon and goes, "God, you're fat," and you couldn't hear it from the back, but the judges saw it and was like, "That's the greatest thing." So, I mean, that's something that if you're just in costume, okay, Sailor Moon, yeah, you've seen a lot of people that just do the costume, but the people that are in character can change the dynamic so much on that. So understand that, again, that's something that can really benefit your cosplay. But understanding when it's appropriate and when it's not is a very big deal. The other thing I will say, understand the boundaries of other people. This can be a make or break for a lot of people that are trying to be in character. Specifically, 2 years ago at this con, I was doing Kafka. There was a person that did Sephiroth. Now, don't woo at Sephiroth. He burned down a village and killed the flower girl. Oh, good God. Kafka destroyed the world. All right, but, and Kafka's sexy too. Yes, he did. Oh, God, yeah. He became a god. Fine. Yes, a little bit. But I did Kafka, this guy did Sephiroth, and there's always been this kind of unspoken fan battle between the two of them. Well, he came up to me right before I went on for the cosplay contest, and he had his sword, and took his sword, and was like meaning to like put it up at my neck, but he caught my cape and ripped my cape in half. And I turned around and immediately it was just like character dropped immediately, and I said words that I should have been kicked out of the con for. And he's still trying to be in character. He's just like, well, you think that you're better than me. It's like, no, you need to stop right now. And I've seen so many issues and incidences like that where there's somebody where it's just like, oh, well, my character fangirls and likes glomping people. Don't. It's fine if you ask somebody and they're just like, yeah, that's fine. But I had a person that specifically, I guess their character was somebody that glomps the people that they love. I was doing Godot from Phoenix Wright, and I had somebody hit me from behind so hard I thought like a football game was going on, and I got knocked straight down. I had merchandise in one hand, I had my coffee cup in the other. I hit face first and broke my mask in half. And she's still trying to stay in character. Again, respect boundaries, because that's one of the biggest things. Physicality is something that most people aren't okay with. I mean, if you're coming up and just like patting somebody on the shoulder, that's fine. But if your character is somebody who's very huggy, it's not okay to just run up and hug people out of nowhere. Even if it's your character, don't do that. You've seen it sometimes where people cause issues like that. Other instances of make sure you're in character at proper times. Anime Boston 2 years ago had a Hetalia photo shoot. There are people that know this. A block away from the Holocaust Memorial Museum on Passover, doing Sieg Heils as the Jewish people were walking down to the Holocaust Museum. This is not a proper time to be in character. Again, respect boundaries and understand when you're doing things like that. And again, the argument that was given was, yeah, that's the response that a lot of people had. And they tried coming back and go, well, we were just in character, it was for fun. understand when it's appropriate and when it's not. They got in a lot of trouble for that. What's up?
I'm just curious, and there's a character in Italy that wears an iron cross, and I have a Jewish friend, he gets really offended when he sees that.
Yeah, I couldn't personally say why. Some do, simply because of the fact that it was a mainly.
You got that for killing Jews.
Yeah. Well, it's meant to more match the. It wasn't originally that. The Germans used that before.
I understand.
Yeah, they used it before World War II, but it was awarded for that. And that's understandable, but that's not really. That's less about costume appropriate, or that's less about like character appropriateness and more about costume appropriateness, and that's I think 2 panels down. But again, understand when it's appropriate, understand when it's not, because otherwise it can be very bad when people don't do that. So with that in mind, let me see what time it is right now. Okay, cool, it's 2:39. Woo, it's 2:40. Real quick, does anybody have any questions about characters, anything along those? What's up?
Yes, I do have a question.
Okay.
You said about listening to your person.
Yes.
Or your character, your person.
Yes.
What if you're doing like what about having a script or a sub while doing it? Would it make a difference?
It can. If you're listening to them and if they're difficult to hear what they're saying, it's one thing if you're able to read it and kind of follow along. But the reason I say listen is more because your mind will start picking up on it when you're trying to mimic it. Again, it's why somebody from Boston has the accent of a Bostonian or a Bostonite or whatever they're called. Somebody from a less populated area of Texas, might be one of those people that have a southern accent. You may get people up north that they have their different accents, and people in California have different accents, and here and there. And it's all because they're listening to the people that are talking around them, and they continually hear it and go from there. So is a script or a sub necessary? No, it wouldn't hurt to have it, but it's not really something that I would say is a make or break. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay.
What about having 2 different? You have one person doing the Joker, and you have another person doing the Joker, especially in a different language. You have your standard English, and you have like somebody in Japanese or Spanish or something. Spanish or some other language. Would it make a difference hearing that?
It can. It really depends on personal preference at that point. If you're wanting to do more of a specific type of Joker, it's fine, or a specific type of character. There have been 6 different key people that have done the Joker, and each one of them sound different from the rest. Cesar Romero sounded different from Jack Nicholson, who sounded different from Heath Ledger, who sounded different from Mark Hamill. Thank you. I don't know why I just blanked on his name. But you can choose which way you want to go. I specifically love the Mark Hamill version, so I focused on that one. You don't have to focus on all of them if you don't want to. And if you specifically want to say, I'm doing if you specifically want to say, I don't even know what's going on anymore.
You should know. You take a speaker, you stick it out, and you tell them to shut up.
You're done. Shut up. Go away. But and again, if you want to, it's all up to personal choice. You can do various different characters and just find which one you feel most comfortable with and which one you enjoy doing the most. Because if you don't enjoy the character you're doing, then it makes it a lot more difficult. If there's one that you like better than the other, do the other. Do the one that you like. Don't bother trying to fit all of them in. And if you want to do both, it's fine to learn both. I know a guy that runs around and does Batman and does it more like the animated series Batman, but every now and then goes into the where's Harvey Dent? So it's fine to kind of switch back and forth with that, and it's all really about personal preference and what you want to. Yeah, it's great too because he comes up behind people and goes, "Where are the drugs going? What the hell?" But just again, have fun with it. Pick what you want to do, and if you want to branch out, you're more than welcome to. It's great because you have options. And again, not a necessity, but it's an availability. All right. Any other questions, real quick? What do you got?
When you try to copy the voice of the character, what if they like speak Japanese and you're trying to like interpret it into English?
Because the Japanese speak their language with a slightly different tone than English is spoken, you can learn how. This one's a little bit difficult because if you're wanting to do a character that doesn't naturally speak in English, or you're wanting to do a Japanese version but have them speak in English, the best thing I can recommend then is learn the Japanese dialect. Not just your character's way of speaking, but learn how the Japanese people speak. And again, there's a couple different dialects of Japanese, so figure out which you're most comfortable doing and which is possibly closest to your character, and then learn how your character talks, because the two will kind of combine into one, and you'll be able to go from there. It's going to be a lot harder for you to try to take a Japanese dialect when they speak no English and try to make it English. Specifically for that, I can say from personal experience, I did hard gay once. If anybody doesn't know who hard gay is a leather-bound superhero, so to speak, from Japanese culture. He speaks very little English. So trying to do him in English was very difficult because I didn't learn how to do a Japanese spoken English dialogue before doing that character, and it really didn't sustain very well for me. So that's one of the things that I try to tell people is before learning how to talk like a specific character in English, learn how that dialect from that region speaks, especially in English, because you'll be able to find other things. You'll be able to listen to Japanese or Chinese or Spanish or French or German or Russian or any other group and find somebody that comes from that background that has that dialect and speaks in English, and then learn from that. And that will help you better than trying to translate it yourself, especially if you're not used to doing that. Because even for me, I've been doing voice work for a couple years now, and I still have to sometimes go back and learn something before I can learn the character itself. So I'd suggest doing that if you're wanting to transfer a character from being only spoken in Japanese to English speaking, but still keeping their vocal tone. Any other questions real quick? What's up?
Can you do Joker's laugh real quick?
What's that?
Can you do Joker's laugh?
Joker's laugh! Well, Joker's always got a couple different laughs. See, real quick, that's the other thing. If your character has a lot of dynamic sides to it, learn that. Because the Joker is one of the best examples that I use because he is such a massively dynamic character. He can go into a situation and be very sadistic and just have a kind of laugh to it. He can also have his, if he's seen something that's, he's made a joke and it's hilarious, or he's trying to laugh off a situation, just like, what's a good one to do? Like, I've had Harley Quinns come up to me, and one of the most iconic moments in Joker history is he throws Harley Quinn through a window. I've had a Harley Quinn come up to me and it's like, if you touch me again, I'm going to throw you out a window. If you touch me after that, I'm going to go higher and then throw you out the window. It's thank you. But that's the reason why you have to practice that in the car or warn people is because I had neighbors at my apartment complex go, somebody is making a lot of noise next door. Because you can't just like be in your room and try to be quiet and be like, because it doesn't really work. If your character projects a lot, just make sure the people around you understand. And that was definitely a learning experience when my wife and I started dating. It was before the first con we went to. For like 2 days prior to that, I'm practicing getting into the characters just to make sure I have them. And she's like, what is wrong with you? I have to do this. You don't understand. So, yeah, I mean, again, that's one of the biggest examples that I use specifically for if you want to see how dynamic a character can be. The Joker is one of the best ones to go to. I mean, because most people, even if you're a fan of anime, video games, comic books, anything, most people know the Joker, and it's very accessible. And you can go and listen to how different he is and the different ways of doing it. And I've actually told some people if you want to really increase your palette. You really want to make your voice and your capabilities with your voice expand. Practice the Joker. Because he goes from very deep tones to very high tones. He uses a lot of breath in some of his statements. There are other ones that are very strained. His laughing can be anything from a low, like a bellowing laugh, to a very high-pitched screeching laugh. He's so widely dynamic, and if you start learning that, you'll pick up on it and you'll start expanding, and you'll be able to fit other characters inside. So that's one of the biggest reasons why I really highly recommend focus on finding a character that you really want and learning everything you can about them. And it may feel weird. I'm not going to say anything. It feels weird. Anybody that's tried working on the voice for a character and really has tried getting into it, it's something that can come off as very unnatural. And it will make you feel foolish. It will make you feel very stupid to be sitting there, and even if you're looking in the mirror for an hour practicing this voice and trying to get the body language down, which I've done a lot. I've had my wife, again, come in and go, oh, you're doing this again, and walk out. Because you'll stare in the mirror and watch as, how is your facial expression? Because your face can really define so much of it, too. If you want to be angry, it's easier to be angry if your face can match it. Not just the tone, but the expressions that you give. And it'll feel unnatural because you're doing something so different than who you are. Sometimes it's easier to jump into because the character will be very human, very approachable, very easy. But if you're going for somebody that has a lot more character, it will feel unnatural to you until you get used to it. If you have problems getting into a voice of a character, one of the things that I will highly recommend is find a keyword. Find something that you can say that immediately can be done in the same exact voice that you want it to be in. Because there are some voices that I'm able to do, but I can't just go right into them. But if I need to, I have keywords that I use that when I speak them, I can subconsciously get right into the voice. So, I practiced doing Solid Snake from Metal Gear Solid, and I could sit here and drop my voice, but it kept sounding wrong because he has kind of a bellowing voice. So I could sit, but it doesn't really work. But then I kept finding, like, when I would practice, when I would finally get into it, the word that I could always do right is Otacon. Otacon, what are we doing here? And oh my God, she's totally hot. But you can go into the it's easier to go into that voice because I could just, like, if I'm not focusing on something, I can just go, Otacon. All right, so what are we doing here? Metal Gear. And it's easier for me to get into the voice that way. Highlander. Highlander is my keyword for Sean Connery. And I can't do that normally because it's such a difficult voice for me to just jump right into. But I found out that if I sat there and a couple times, I was like, there can only be one Highlander. And Highlander is the one that really gets me into it. And it's easier to find that voice and find that one word or sometimes a phrase that you can just look aside and be like, Highlander. Okay, and get right into it. And if you can do it quietly, it's even better because then it's just bam, you got it, go. And it's one of the best ways to help get yourself into that. Joker, I practiced for so damn long. I don't even need I had a keyword before, and it just got to a point that it was immediate. I don't have to worry about it anymore. But I don't do Solid Snake or Sean Connery very often, so having a keyword helps to build into that. And that's one of the things that I really do recommend, is if you're doing voice work and it's a character voice that's very unusual and sometimes difficult to get into, a keyword will help, especially if you're at a con and you have to drop in and out of character quite often. So that's what I would recommend. Any other questions real quick? Cool. All right, so let me see what time it is real quick. 2:53, cool. All right, so improvisation and cosplay, the other part of this wonderful panel. Improv and cosplay is one of those things that really goes along with getting into the character. If you don't know what you're doing with a character, it's going to be very difficult to improvise as them. But the improv side of things will help make your experience at a con much better, and it sometimes can make other people's experience better as well. If you don't know how to respond, then your responses can completely throw somebody off. Again, me going up to a Judge Dredd and going, "Are you the law?" and having him go, am I what? Bad improv, not able to jump into it. And there's a lot of panels that specifically center around improvisation in your character. Cosplay chess is very much like that. Anime dating game is very much like that. There's a couple other panels that people do that are very big on your character being put into situations that you have to fill in the blanks. You have to know how somebody would react to that, how your character would react in those situations. And that really will build upon the character that you have gotten yourself into. So if your character is somebody that, again, is very dismissive and somebody comes up and says, "Hey, can I get a photo with you?" You can, having good improvisation and understanding that will allow you the capability of immediately responding. I've had people that will fire things off at me that I can turn and respond instantly to. Simply because you know your character well enough that, again, you turn yourself off and become them. Learn how they feel. Learn how they react, and it will become almost second nature to you. So, for instance, and I highly recommend, for those of you that haven't been to these panels, definitely check out Cosplay Chess, definitely check out Anime Dating Game. They're very big on just characters being put in unusual situations. The best one that I can think of specifically was, again, when I did Hard Gay. I was Hard Gay, and we had 3 people that were just like, what is going on here the entire time? But they were able to stay in character and improv in the way that they should. Like, one person was completely terrified of it, the other was just like, this is a new thing, you want to know what this new thing is, and was very intrigued by it. The other one was just completely bored by it. She's like, I've seen it before, I don't care. And it worked because all 3 still stayed in character. But they respond. It's call and response to it. It's call and response to it, and with that in mind, you have that capability, and it is, like I said, I go back to the Disney reference. This is Disneyland to people, and to see all these characters, if somebody comes up to you, it's easy to just turn around and be like, yeah, I'll take a picture. It's better to be able to turn around in character and respond appropriately. And many people will come up and ask questions about your character that you would know to try to get a response, because it makes them feel connected. It makes them feel like they were a part of this. And a character that they've just seen from afar is now readily and accessibly available to them to say or do whatever they want to do with that. So, if somebody comes up to you, be ready to respond. But again, understand the appropriate times. If somebody comes up and addresses you and your character and says something to you, maybe something that happened to your character. Like, one of the ones that I specifically remember is walking up to an Edward Elric as the Joker and being like, your mom says hi. Edward turned to me and went, did you see what I've done to my brother? I will do worse to you. It's like, bravo. So, for those of you that don't know, you need to watch Full Metal Alchemist. But, yeah, I mean, again, was immediately able to respond to it. And that's the kind of stuff that really makes your character, and you will have a lot more fun in it. It ends up being something where you're able to stay in character and enjoy yourself and be able to walk through the con, and it's almost a different experience to stay in character and be able to improvise, because there will be people that will call out to you and will say different things. If you're Link and there's a Navi that's running around and being annoying, just finally going, shut up! Shut up! And like breaking the silence after so many years. Shut up! Making the pained noises. Perfectly fine. I saw a Link that walked over to the safety table, picked up a roll of duct tape, and went over and duct taped the Navi's mouth shut. And the greatest moment of him just going, no, you know what? I'm not letting this go. And then work together. They never met before this point. But for the one to be annoying somebody else, and for him to go, no more, you're done. It was great. I know that there was another instance with that at IkiCon where a Link walked up to a Navi and was just like, you're done, and pointed to a bottle, and she's like, all right. If I die, I'm eating you. It worked really well because the characters were able to call and respond. And again, it's one of those things that sometimes it will fail. Sometimes you will be able to improv something, the other person may not. But there are some people that you need to watch out for that don't really get the fact that even though you're in character, you're not the character. And that's one of the hardest things that happens to people that try to raise in character a lot and improvise while in character. I've had people that came up to me in character and would not drop it. Like, after about 5 minutes of talking with them in character, they start going, well, hey, so Joker, what do you think about this person? All right, well, okay, I'll answer this question. And then afterwards it was like, hey, well, what do you think of the Batman? I'm not, okay, all right, one more question, and then I gotta go. And then they start following me around, and like the entire time they're just like, I can show you where Batman's secret lair is. Okay, you're kind of getting creepy now. You stop it. But I mean, there are people that don't understand just because you are in character doesn't mean that you are the character. And if you have to be the one that understands that and walks away, know when to do so. Improving even at photo shoots is a big thing. There's a lot of times where those specifically are the best moments to do so, because you're around a lot of characters and a lot of people that are from the same series, that know the same characters, that love the same characters. So they respect enough of the show to know how to respond, what to say, what the different characters are like, and how to work with that. And even if you're not with the same characters, if your character is well known enough, you may not even be part of the photo shoot and can still get in there. The one that for an example, at a Naruto versus Bleach photo shoot, they had everybody record a video of them doing an evil laugh. And I'm Kafka at that point. I'm like, that's not an evil laugh, this is an evil laugh, and did the Kafka laugh. It's like, now do it right or you're all dead. And everybody did the laugh. And it was perfectly fine, because everybody was just like, this is funny, we'll go with this. There were a couple people that were just like, well, he's bombing. But you get a lot of people that really can go with it. If it bombs, get away. Just go, don't worry about it. It's not gonna affect, most of the people aren't gonna really know who you are, and most people will forget because it's not going to be a big of a deal if it's not continually pushed. But yeah, at photo shoots specifically, understanding the other characters that are around you, not just maybe from your series, but if you're at something that has multiple shows, multiple series, you can interact with these other characters and have fun with it. I've seen so much trash talking between characters at photo shoots, and that's purely character improv. So understanding your character well enough just makes it that much more fun. You enjoy it a lot more. It's a lot more memorable. You get a lot of people that you will make their day if you're one of their favorite characters and you're in character, because it's so different than a lot of people that come and just wear the costume and that's it. And that improvisation side really can branch it out to be a totally new experience. So if you're doing improv, again, it goes back to a lot of the getting into character. Understand your character. Know who they are. Listen to them, and not just their dialogue, but the things that people are saying and how they respond. What are their trigger points? What sets them off? What makes them happy? What makes them sad? What makes them angry? What would affect them in certain ways? And know how to respond to those things. If somebody, like again, the Edward Elric, if the character's mother is dead and it's their fault and they feel guilty. It's perfectly fine for that person to have a trigger point where whenever somebody mentions their mom, they get mad or they get like really bitchy about it. That's okay. And understanding your character is fine. If you go up to an Edward Elric and you go, so how's your mom doing? And they just look at you and go, I don't know why. It's dead. It's gone. The illusion of that being the character is gone. And a lot of people can just enjoy that for what it is and go from there. And there are times that I've went up to people that I absolutely love the character that they're doing. And I'll say something to them out of personal character, but responding to their character, and they're able to respond in character, and it's so much of a big difference. Having I found a Waldo that was at Anime Fest. I was like, that's awesome, I finally found you. You always hid from me in my childhood. He's just like, well, there's a reason why. I'm your father. Now I didn't want to pay child support. It's like, dude, well done. So being able to think on your feet is very, very good. And you'll be able to, again, turn it on and off. And there's something that exists in each person. Well, for the most part, some don't have this. But it's a filter that stops what you're thinking you should say before you actually say it. Now, granted, you should be smart enough to know when things are inappropriate. Again, don't Sig Heil right next to the Holocaust Museum, because that's a bad idea. But if you're able to do that, I mean, you'll be able to turn off that filter, and things that will come directly to your mind will be like, people will hear you say things seconds after you thought of them. It's not going to be something that you're just like, okay, somebody said something to me, dead air, nothing. You'll be able to quickly respond. Again, sometimes it'll fall flat. It's a little bit more of a gamble, but your responses will be a lot more natural. They'll seem a lot more in character. They'll be a lot more in character. So, again, anime dating games specifically, if you're doing something like that and somebody asks you a question and you sit there for about 15 seconds and just go, how would my character react to this? It takes you out of the moment. I've personally had a lot of those moments, and if you're in character, you will too, that people will come up and say something and you have no break. You don't have seconds to think about it. These people are coming up and giving you something immediately, and you need to take it and run. And everybody has had those moments where somebody has said something and you, in character, can think, this would be funny to say, but either stop yourself or it's delayed. If you turn that off, your brain will think things immediately as you're saying them. And it works a lot easier. Again, a little bit of a gamble at times, but most times it will come out so natural because it's second nature to be in your character that it will work. Again, Joker, one of my best examples that I use with this, I had during the dating game, or not the dating game, the skit contest at Anime Fest last year. I was stating that love isn't worth it and it's disgusting and things like that. And I had a group of 4 people up near the front go, well, what about Harley? And I stopped them and I went, oh, I threw Harley through a window. That's what about Harley. And I, of course, said it in the voice. But that was one of those things where I immediately, right after they said it, I was like, I threw out a window. That's what about Harley. No pauses, nothing, because that filter was off. I could have sat there and thought about it and been like, what about Harley? Well, I threw it through a window, and it wouldn't have been anywhere near as great of a moment. And then to have the Harley Quinn that we were there with run up on stage, saw her and ran. I mean, I could have sat and thought, like, what could I do? But immediately my mind just went, run. Okay. So your brain will immediately react to things, and then you consciously think about it and go, should I say this, should I not? It's easy to turn that off and eliminate a lot of those differences in time and just go, okay, this will work. Because most times the first thing, the most natural thing that you come up with, if you know your character well enough, will be the best response. Because it would be exactly what they do. Again, in that situation, if the Harley came up and it was just like, oh, what are you doing here? We kind of bickered, it wouldn't have been as funny. But again, with my mind immediately going, turn around, see Harley, run, 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 run. Booked it. That's all you have to do is listen to your mind and let it be the thing that drives you. Your subconscious will make those decisions so much easier than your conscious mind will. And it becomes like riding a bike. You'll start to get more used to it. You'll be able to start riding without holding onto the handlebars and stupid tricks like that. Yeah, have done. And every now and then you fall off the bike because something doesn't go the way you plan. You get back up, put some Neosporin on your bruised knees, and go on. But yeah, I mean that's one of the easiest and best things that you can do if you're doing improv is turn that filter off. Again, understand what's appropriate and what's not. Because if your mind goes, this would be funny, but don't do it. You may have moments where somebody will say something and you'll want to respond in a certain way, but it's wrong. Like it would be something that would not be funny. It would actually potentially be offensive. It could be funny to you. Keep the laugh in your mind and move on. But yeah, I mean, again, just learn your character and learn enough that you can turn that filter off. And again, I have my wife do this. If you have friends that are trying to get in characters, one of the easiest ways that you can work this and get used to being out of that character's normal habitat and learn from there, have other people that do characters or that are doing character cosplays work with you. Have conversations with them as your characters and have them critique you. Listen and say, hey, look, that doesn't really sound like their character. That doesn't seem like what they would say. Work off each other. When I was practicing for Kefka, which was very close to Joker, but it's got a lot of differences. I practiced while my wife was practicing for Catwoman. My best friend was practicing for Sid Highwind from Final Fantasy VII. We had two other people that were practicing for superheroes. And we would all get together and go out for dinner and talk in character the entire time. You're laughing. It sounds ridiculous. We looked stupid.
It sounds like a great time.
But it was a great time. And it was something that we were easily able to work off each other. Because, having those different scenarios really helps you when you have new and unique things come up, because you get used to responding like that. And again, it's just as if you're learning a language as you're a child. You learn through repetition, you learn through mimicry, you learn through studying and observing, and it will become second nature. Nobody has to consciously think of how they're speaking. And it's like breathing. We know what we're doing. You're not, obviously, you can be told you're breathing, and then people can think about it for a bit, but you'll go back to doing it subconsciously. And all of these things will get to be, again, that second nature for you. So learn the character, understand when improv is appropriate, when it's not appropriate, and turn that filter off. And you can have some of the greatest fun with that, simply because if you can respond immediately, it makes you even more in that character. Yeah, that's pretty much the best advice I can give that way. We've got about 10 more minutes before we're getting kicked out of here. Okay. Any questions real quick on improv or getting into character? What's up?
What's the worst failure as a character you've ever had?
Ooh, personal or ones that I've seen?
Personal.
Hard gay. I could not keep in character at all, but there was a bad reason for that. I was doing anime dating game as the question giver, and I, like I mentioned earlier, I didn't practice Japanese speaking English dialect first, which I should have done. But again, for that character being somebody that's wearing, for those of you that have never seen hard gay and have no idea what this is, leather shorts that come down about this far, a leather biker's vest, a biker hat, leather wristbands, chains, a collar. Basically looks like Mr. Slave from South Park. Yeah, he might have been based off of him. But his whole purpose is he's meant to help people in Japan while playing off of the stereotype of gay people and how all they're into is like over-sexualized BDSM. So he plays off in one of his videos, because he helps people out. One of his videos, he's helping try to bring in business for a ramen store. Yeah, so those of you that have seen this know what this is. So he's walking up to people, and there's a person that would be like right here, and he's like, we have hard ramen and hard ramen. And he's having so much fun with the fact that he's playing with it, playing with this over-stereotyped gay attitude, and it's funny to watch. But I didn't practice him speaking in English because he doesn't naturally speak in English. He has a couple things that he says in English, but beyond that, he speaks purely in Japanese. So I learned his phrases, but when I had to answer questions ask questions, I couldn't keep the character. The other problem with that, though, is there was a guy that probably weighed about 600 pounds that was sitting directly in front of me about 4 rows back, that was leaned back in his chair. And if you've ever heard the statement that's used for Santa of his, when he laughs, his belly jiggled like a bowl full of jelly. This guy's entire body was jiggling when he laughed. And I'm trying not to focus on him, but he's right in front of me. So he just keeps looking up at me and just blah, 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 blah. And like, his laughter sounded like he was choking half the time. And I could not stay in character. Like, people are just like, keep it together, you can do this. Because every other one of them, I've been in character. And this is just the one where it's like, you have no idea what I'm watching right now. I'm already having problems being in character. And then I'm seeing this, where every time I look at him, I don't know if he knew who Hard Gay was, or if he didn't know and it was just the craziest thing that he had ever seen. But he could not stop laughing, and it was a contagious laugh. Like, I finally point the guy out, I'm like, you're to blame for this, and people keep looking back. So then people are watching him laugh, and it got worse. And I haven't done the character since, just because I don't want to do that anymore. That was like a low moment in my career, and I don't want to go back there. Worst staying in character moment was easily that, and I just had all of the odds against me with that. So, any other questions? What's up?
When you're doing a character's voice, it's obviously like a strain on the throat, and you're preparing for it. Like, A, how do you recover after that? And B, like, when you tell yourself, just water.
It's one of the best things that you can do. I will make a recommendation. Do not drink dairy or eat anything with cheese while you're at the least practicing. Anybody that's ever been in theater can tell you that stuff can stay in your throat for a little bit. It doesn't go down as easily, so it can coat your throat and make it sound much different.
To get rid of that, lots and lots of citrus.
Yes,
it doesn't
citrus.
completely eliminate.
Yeah, drinking orange juice or things like that will help in a big way, or lemonade. Personally, recovering afterwards, once you get used to it, your voice, your throat will get used to it. You'll be able to turn the voices on and off to a point where if it starts hurting, your body will get more used to it. It's like guitar players get calluses on their fingers because they're so used to playing. Your throat will kind of get used to you talking that way, and it'll become easier and easier to do. I'd say the harder thing to do recovery-wise is if you're in character for an entire day, it's very hard at the end of the day to get out of character sometimes. And it's one of the reasons why at cons I like having a day after, or at least the drive home, where I can just be like, all right, I need to get out of character because I've been doing this so much that it becomes second nature, and then you have to tell yourself, okay, no more of Cave Johnson, I need to be me again. Drink a lot of water because it will help clear out a lot of things. It will keep you hydrated. If you're straining your voice, you're straining your throat, you're going to build up a lot of saliva, you're going to build up a lot of spit. It's going to make your mouth very dry, things along those lines. So drink a lot of water beforehand, drink a lot of water after. If you can, if it starts hurting but you're trying to practice and prep for something, there are throat sprays that you can use that will soothe your throat. So that way if you practice to a point that it hurts and you want to kind of soothe it afterwards, that really helps. So I'd recommend definitely drink a lot of water, so that way you stay hydrated and it works a lot better. Stay away from dairy. Or if you do have dairy, drink something citrusy like an orange juice or lemonade or something along those lines. And it's like loud ass music out there. Drink something that's very citrusy, and if you need to get, I wouldn't say throat lozenges or anything like that, because those are normally cough suppressants. This specifically is meant for like a sore throat, and you spray it and all it does is just drips down in there. So it really does help that way.
And where do you draw like the line when you're practicing like I want to keep practicing, but I know if I do it, I'm gonna lose my voice for a week.
Joker made me lose my voice twice, but he was one of the first ones that I really heavily worked on. Learning from experience, I would say the biggest thing to do to help yourself with that is to, if it starts, like you'll start feeling it in the back of your throat, specifically around your Adam's apple, your voice box. You'll start feeling, it'll get sore. It'll get to a point that you'll feel discomfort before you'll feel pain. But with that, if you start feeling that and let that be your trigger, you can go that way and go, okay, I need to stop for a bit. Other than that, I mean, there are times that you can be doing voice work and it won't bother you at all. Sometimes simply because you don't have to force your voice very much. J. Jonah Jameson and Cave Johnson were two that have never hurt my voice because you're speaking more from the back of your throat, but it's not raspy. You're not putting a lot of emphasis into it, so you're not closing your throat and then forcing a lot of air through it at the same time, which ends to be one of the biggest things. That's why Joker and the screeching and the laughing and things like that did hurt, because it closes your throat to make it higher pitched and make it more screechy, while at the same time trying to force a lot more air through. But yeah, I mean, again, if you're working on trying to get a character voice together, if you start feeling discomfort, stop. I mean, that's why I recommend to people, don't try to get into a character, especially if it's something that you have a lot to work on, to do that right before it. I started working on transferring more towards the Cave Johnson character about a month ago. And it was less of a focused thing because he's very J. Jonah Jameson. It's the same guy, so it's very similar in the ways that works out. But with Cave Johnson, I need to get more into his mindset, the statements that he made, different things like that. So I'd recommend just take some time to get used to it. It takes a little bit more longer to start getting used to it, but once you've got it, it becomes so much easier over time. And then your voice will get more used to it. You'll get more used to it. You'll learn the different positionings, the different ways that you can say certain things, and the different way that you can do certain things, and it makes it a lot easier. Like again, Joker took 6 months. The next character that I learned after that was J. Jonah, and that took about 3 weeks. So, any other questions?
Do you have any hilariously horrible moments where turning off that filter went very badly?
Yeah.
Of your own?
Well, other than making children cry. Yeah. Yeah, I had a kid that came up to me. Again, it's Joker. I do Joker a lot. I've actually put him aside for a bit because I overdid him. And I'll probably bring him back in like a year or two. But at a convention, I had this kid come up to me, and his grandparents were behind him. And he was just like, "You killed that man's parents." And I was like, "If you keep being naughty and being mean to me, I'm going to kill your parents too." And the grandma went, "His parents died recently in a car accident." Oh God, I'm sorry. Like the kid just kind of looks at me and goes, and sits down and cries, and it's just like, I didn't know. Like, the grandparents parents are both very understanding. They're like, no, we like the Joker enough to know you're joking around. You had no idea about this. But it was just one of those moments where it's like, I feel terrible. Like, I went and got out of Joker completely because I didn't want to wear it anymore. I'm like, that was bad. Oh, and we're not talking like recently, like a year ago. We're talking like they were bringing him to this convention because they were trying to get his mind off the fact that his parents had died. And again, my wife, we were just dating at the time, looks at me and goes, "You okay?" I went, "No." Oh my God, what did I do? People are coming up there like, "Can we get a picture?" And she's, "No, you know." Like, there's a couple pictures of me floating around as me as Joker with just like this terrified look on my face as I'm leaving the convention center. And I put the Joker jacket up for a couple months after that because it's like, I don't want to do this anymore. So normally when kids come up to me, they're like, if anybody mentions anything about Batman or Batman's parents, it's just like, yeah, I did that. Are both of your parents alive? Okay, good for them. Stay in school, kill the Batman. But yeah, that was definitely the worst moment for me. Like immediately after it happened, I couldn't get back into character. It's, oh damn, what did I just do? It's like, this kid is here to recover and I may have just scarred him more. Now he will never be able to watch Batman again without thinking Joker's the reason that my parents are dead. Yeah, almost there. All right, any other questions?
You mentioned the Kefka laugh. Can you do the Kefka?
Oh God, the Kefka laugh is more along the lines of just a. And that one also made me lose my voice too. But his is more of that like paused laughter that he ends up doing. Yeah, it's kind of broken up, but that one hurt. But okay, any other questions? We got 5 minutes left and then they're kicking me out of here. Cool. I'll be wandering around outside for a few minutes if anybody wants to come up, ask any questions, that's fine. Other than that, guys, go and enjoy yourself. If you're drinking tonight, I will probably be drinking too. You will be seeing me improv in character, trying to not be drunk in public for the majority of it. But yeah, thank you guys for coming out. Again, I'll be outside, so if you guys have any questions, by all means, feel free to hit me up. Other than that, enjoy yourselves, have a good con, and I'll see you guys around. Thank you.